You ever feel like you're constantly saying yes to others, even when deep down you really want to say no? Maybe it's because you're afraid of disappointing someone, or you worry about coming across as selfish or uncaring. If so, you are not alone. Setting boundaries can be really challenging, especially when guilt starts to play a role. But here's the thing. Healthy boundaries are absolutely crucial for your emotional well-being. They protect your time, your energy, and your mental health. So, how do we set those boundaries without feeling guilty or beginning to second guess ourselves? Stick around because in today's video, I'm going to show you how to set boundaries that feel respectful to others and, most importantly, respectful to yourself. Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Lance Garrison. Welcome back to the Daily Dose. I'm a licensed psychologist with over 20 years of experience, and I'm Dean of the College of Professional Psychology at the Chicago School. As I mentioned, today we're going to explore the topic of boundaries, what they are, why they matter, and how to set them in a way that feels healthy and, importantly, feels guilt-free. So often, when we think about boundaries, we kind of develop this mental image. We picture them as walls, rigid and unyielding. But boundaries aren't about shutting people out. They are about creating space for yourself within your relationships. And while it's normal to feel a little uncomfortable or even guilty when setting boundaries, that discomfort doesn't mean that you're doing something wrong. What it often means is that you're learning to take care of yourself in a new and important way. So let's start by understanding what boundaries actually are. Boundaries at their core, healthy boundaries, are limits that we set to define what is okay for us and what isn't. They help us to protect our physical, emotional, and mental space, and they guide how we interact with others. So you can think of boundaries as a sort of invisible line that separates your needs and feelings and responsibilities from someone else's. For example, if you're constantly being asked to stay late at work, but you need that time for family or for self-care, a boundary might look like saying, "I'm sorry, but I can't stay tonight. I'm happy to tackle this during my regular hours tomorrow." Boundaries are not just about saying no. They're about making intentional decisions about where your energy goes at any given time. They allow you to show up in relationships in a way that feels healthy and sustainable. And without them, what we risk is feeling overwhelmed, resentful, or even burned out. So, if boundaries are so important, why is it that we feel guilt when we try to set them? One of the big reasons is that so many of us were taught from a very young age that we got to put others' needs before our own. Maybe we grew up hearing that, hey, look, it's selfish to say no, or that you're not being a good friend or a partner or an employee if you're not always available to help. And what happens over time is that these messages can lead to guilt because we associate setting boundaries with letting other people down or being mean or unkind. But here's something I want you to remember. Setting boundaries isn't selfish. In fact, it's one of the most compassionate things you can do. Not just for yourself, but for others in your life as well. Because when you set clear, respectful boundaries, you're being honest about what you can and what you can't give. And this prevents resentment from building up. It keeps your relationships healthy, and it ensures that when you do say yes, that it's actually coming from a place of genuine care rather than a sense of obligation. And now let's get into how you can actually start to set some boundaries in a way that feels good without carrying around a heavy sense of guilt. So number one is to get really clear on your needs. Because before you can set a boundary, you actually need to know what your boundaries are. And this means getting clear on what you need, what feels right for you, and then what doesn't. Start by paying attention to those moments where you're feeling drained, where you're feeling resentful, or you're feeling overwhelmed. Because these are often signs that a boundary is being crossed, one that you may not have even been aware of. For example, if you're noticing that you're constantly staying late at work, but you're feeling exhausted and frustrated, that's probably a sign that you need a boundary around your time. And once you're clear on your needs, it becomes so much easier to communicate those needs to other people. Second, use I statements. When you're setting boundaries, how you communicate is really key. And using I statements helps express your needs without blaming or criticizing the other person. It keeps the conversation focused on how you're feeling rather than on their behavior. So for instance, instead of saying, hey, you never respect my time, let's reframe that. I need to leave work on time today so I can take care of some things at home. This shifts the focus to what you need rather than putting the other person on the defensive. Third, be direct, but be kind. A lot of people struggle with boundaries because they're afraid of confrontation, and that's natural. But setting boundaries doesn't have to be confrontational. You can be direct and kind at the same time. So if you have a friend that keeps calling you late at night and it's disrupting your sleep, you could say, listen, buddy, I love talking to you. I got to get to bed earlier. You think we can catch up during the day tomorrow instead? So you're still showing that you care, but you're also being super clear about what you need. 4, expect some pushback. It's probably going to come. It's important to understand, that not everyone's going to be immediately happy with the boundaries that you're setting. That's okay. Because people who are used to having unlimited access to your time and your energy, it's just kind of natural for them to resist at first. This doesn't mean that your boundary is wrong. It just means it's something new. If someone does push back, stay calm and firm. Reassure them that the boundary, it doesn't mean that you're rejecting them. It just means that you're taking care of yourself at the moment. And over time, most people are going to learn to respect that. They're going to learn to respect your boundaries, especially if you stay consistent with it. And finally, for number 5, let go of guilt. This is probably the hardest part for all of us, letting go of guilt. But remember that feeling guilty doesn't mean you've done something wrong when it comes to setting boundaries. It just means that you're challenging an old habit and a deeply ingrained belief. A helpful tip is to reframe the guilt as a sign of growth. So instead of thinking, I feel guilty, I must have upset them, you can try thinking, I feel guilty because I'm learning to prioritize my well-being, and that's totally okay. Give yourself permission to protect your time, your energy, and so importantly, your mental health. When you set healthy boundaries, you're not only honoring yourself, but you're also creating the conditions for healthier and more balanced relationships with other people. So to recap, setting boundaries involves getting clear on your needs, communicating them in a direct and kind way, and letting go of the guilt that can sometimes follow. Boundaries aren't walls. What they are is bridges to healthier relationships, ones that are built on mutual respect and understanding. Now, if you struggle with setting boundaries, you know that it's a skill, like everything else we talk about on this channel, and it's a skill that can be developed over time. So start small, be consistent, and remind yourself that your well-being matters, and that's why you're doing this. As always, thanks so much for watching today. If you found this video helpful, please reach out, hit the like button, and subscribe to the channel for more mental health content just like this. And in the comments below, let me know. Give me one boundary that you've been thinking about setting and what you think you can do to get started setting it today. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.